So now that we're in Q4, are home prices actually re-accelerating? Well, let's take a look. Hi, I'm Nick with the Iannitti Group. Just want to come at you with a real quick housing update for the month of November. Thought I'd start out with this because I thought it was kind of refreshing. If you watch my videos, I say all the time that I don't have a crystal ball, and if I did, I probably wouldn't be doing this if I could predict the future. But I thought this was kind of refreshing. Sean Dobson, CEO of Amherst, actually came out and basically kind of said the same. I said that their forecast is going to have a much wider range for error than they normally would have right now, and he doesn't think anybody can really accurately predict what's going on in our market now and probably what's going to happen next year. But we all basically cannot ignore the fact that inventory remains down over 40% since pre-pandemic. Again, if you watch my videos, I've explained that we've recently had a huge deficit, the largest deficit in 6 decades from 2010 to 2019, and we still have not caught up with that. So home prices, what have we got going on now? Well, we've definitely seen things kind of bounce back and rebound from the correction we had end of last year. Just keep in mind here, Case-Shiller, FHFA, and CoreLogic. These CoreLogic numbers are not seasonally adjusted. The other two are. That's why you kind of see a difference. These are quarterly reports, so we can definitely see from the end of last quarter, though, things definitely were moving in the right direction. This is basically month over month percent appreciation for the top 20 cities. And look at that, San Diego tops the list at 1.7, Miami at 1.2, Seattle 1.5, Tampa was down at 0.6. But these are all good numbers moving in the right direction. When we break it down by region, it looks like this. The only one that actually was not above the board is South Atlantic. But I also think too, realize when you're talking about the South Atlantic, they get a heavy influence of winter visitors, right? Snowbirds that come down there. So I bet by next quarter, we're going to see this probably above the line. Somebody said, this is Black Knight basically said second month in a row, home price growth trended higher in every one of the 50 largest U.S. markets, mirroring the sharp re-acceleration at the national level. So things are definitely starting to pick up. We know that demand is still there as well. I'll get to that in just a bit. Selma Happier, chief economist CoreLogic, said nevertheless, they think that home prices are still expected to re-accelerate and reach mid-single-digit growth by the end of the year. I think that is absolutely possible, especially when we look at month-over-month pricing has definitely been climbing. So future home prices, I've shown you this graph before. Realize that, this is the 49-year average of monthly price improvement. So basically what you're looking at is really kind of the average of seasonality as it's affected by month, right? But when we overlay this year's numbers, obviously we had a dip in the beginning. We were coming off that correction. And then middle of the year, springtime, obviously we came roaring back. And right now we're basically right in line with the average. This is really where we want to be from what we would consider to be a sustainable market, right? Obviously, if you have a home to sell, you want numbers like this that are blowing the average out. If you're trying to buy a home, you want these numbers to be lower. But really, when we're talking about, single-digit price growth, year-over-year appreciation, that historically has been, kind of where we're actually at and where we really need to be. This 10, 12, 15% year-over-year appreciation just is not sustainable, okay? When we're talking about affordability, though, this is still being crushed. I thought this was an interesting graphic from the National Association of Realtors. When you look at just back to the beginning of 2021, the average mortgage was $1,000. Now it's $2,200, okay? This isn't only bad news for buyers. It really has a lot of sellers trapped right now, right? That's part of the problem. That's why our volume is down by almost a third, basically, because if someone wants to downsize and they've got $1,000 a month mortgage and they want to go buy a smaller, less expensive home, and their mortgage is still going to actually increase over what they're paying now, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to do that, okay? This is just a little bit of historical perspective. When I say historical, back to 2016, we can see where just the rate right now is crushing everything we've had in the immediate past. When we look at it basically back to 2016, this is kind of a bar graph, same thing. This on November 5th, basically we were at 7.38. That was kind of the spike, the high, right? But for some historical comparison, when we look over the past 5 decades, we're still below where we were the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? So still, even if this rate sticks around for a while, not the end of the world, but I think if we get down around 5%, we're absolutely going to see kind of that, the unicorn years there that we had basically kind of return, okay? So this is partially why. We really have not seen some super significant dips in demand. There's still a decent amount of people out there that need a home. Their family is growing, they have a job change, they're renting right now and they want to get into the market. So we're still seeing relatively strong buyer demand. Okay. But I thought I would bring this up because right now, multi-generational living is becoming, we're seeing ADUs popping up all over the place, right? And I thought this was kind of cool. This is a Pew Research study, and they basically asked people who lived in, kind of multi-generational living. More than half of them thought it was convenient. More than half of them thought it was rewarding. Okay, there was about a quarter of them thought it was stressful, but think about it this way, right? When you have multi-generational living in there, if you're a young family starting out, you got small kids, it's kind of nice to maybe have some grandparents around because you have some built-in babysitters. Flip side of that coin is a lot of times when seniors get older, they like to have some kind of small pet, whether it's a cat or a small dog, but they still want to travel and see other family members and do other things that they got in the retirement age. So it's nice to kind of have some pet sitters in there, but we'll talk about kind of the mix of the ages a little bit, right? The reason I bring it up though is one, this right here, basically National Association of Realtors said that basically multi-generational buying was at an all-time high last year. Okay, that's definitely significant, right? We've seen it increase, but this is the thing. I told you in a couple of videos ago, a couple of months back, I said it used to be where 70% of senior citizens would move in with their family, right? And now that trend is reversed. Only 30% of senior citizens move in with their family. That's still holding true. Where we're seeing a lot of this multi-generational growth is in younger adults coming back in with their parents, okay, which I thought was definitely something that we should take note of. Okay, builders are now obviously building things with multi-generational floor plans and ADUs built in there and everything else. But the real reason I bring it up and add it in here is because of this right here. The FHA has basically expanded access to mortgage financing for homes that will include an accessory dwelling unit. And this right here is huge. This is definitely a significant policy change. Fannie Mae has announced that it will now accept as little as 5% down on an owner-occupied 2, 3, or 4 unit home, right? That's definitely a departure from when they used to require typically 20%, sometimes 25%. So that is huge. That can definitely change a lot for a lot of different families. If this is something that you're interested in as far as multi-generational living, you definitely want to reach out with a lender so that he can look at everybody's finances collectively and see what you guys are going to do. So anyway, that's about it for now. If you guys have questions about, what's happening in my neighborhood, is this a good time to buy or sell? What's my home worth? How much equity do I have? I'm more than happy to answer any of those questions. Just reach out, and that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, who you choose to negotiate for you absolutely matters.